This is Texans TV. Texans Extra Points is sponsored by BHP and by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Houston Texans, and by your local Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas.
We are ready to rock at NRG Stadium. Whitney Merciless with the sack. Throws left side of the end zone. Caught. Hopkins. Touchdown, Houston.
Hello there, and welcome into Texans Extra Points. The final game of the regular season is upon us, and that's something special, is it not? Well, we think so. My name's Drew Doherty. I'm your host, and I got two of my good buddies with me, Mark Vandermeer, the voice of the Houston Texans, and John Harris, also a bit of a voice for the Houston Texans on Texans Radio, the sidelines, you do it all. It's good to be with you. We've got much to discuss. Sit tight, because we got to get some news of the week out of the way with quick hits. And what else would top the news cycle than the return of J.J. Watt? The defensive end came back from a pectoral injury and practiced on Christmas Eve, and he described his motivations, his goals, and his wishes.
Every day I've had a tough day in my rehab. That's what I've thought about, is running back out of that tunnel, playing in front of those fans with my teammates, and being able to do for them what I've wanted to do since the day I got here, and that's win.
Watt will not play on Sunday against the Titans, and this is a unique setup for Houston. They have already clinched a playoff spot, and we probably won't know who's going to play, who's going to be inactive until about an hour and a half before kickoff on Sunday afternoon at NRG Stadium.
I think for us, it's our last regular season game of a season that I think's been a good season. We won the division, and so we need to go out there on Sunday and compete at a very high level against a really good football team that is coming in here, ready to go. We need to be ready to go. So we'll be ready to go, and I'm sure it'll be a really good game.
And who are these Titans? 2 weeks ago, you beat them in their house when they were riding a 4-game win streak. Last week, they lost to the Saints in a shootout. So the Texans know they've got something interesting coming to town on Sunday at NRG Stadium.
They want to run the ball. They got a talented back, and Tannehill is a talented quarterback and does a good job of managing the game. And, we're also just special teams. We know they're not afraid to take risks. They're pretty confident in trying to make plays on special teams.
All right, that's what's gone down this week, and let's start with the J.J. Watt news. This is great stuff, because anytime you get a future Hall of Famer back into the fold, you're excited. You won't see him for a while. It won't be till the playoffs. He's practiced, though. You guys were at the press conference on Christmas Eve. This is good stuff, but what shall we see once he's back in the lineup, Mark?
It depends on what he can do, and I think maybe they don't even know until they get through a few practice sessions, and I know we're on our way to finding out, but they have to see what he can do out there. This is uncharted territory, really, having him come back from an injury like this, so let's see how he can help this defense. They have gotten after the passer. They got to Winston a few times in the clincher on Sunday. That was great to see, but obviously adding Watt would be great, but what kind of Watt are you going to get? I don't know if anybody knows right now.
He just added a very important point. This team has still won games without J.J. Watt in the lineup. Sure. It's not like they were a house of cards and just folded. Now, could they be better? Of course, every defense could be better, but it's so great to potentially add this guy back to the mix, John.
Yeah, and they went 5-2.
Yeah.
That was pretty darn good. They went 5-3 with him, 5-2 without him. I'm not saying that you want to play games without J.J. Watt. I think the one thing that's really tricky about this situation is he's not going to physically hit anybody until he steps on the field to play a game, because you're at that point of the year in practice where I don't believe you're allowed to hit in practice anymore. You've reached that limit. So he's not really going to be able to test out that upper body strength truly until he gets on the field and see how he feels. So pitch count, play count, whatever it is, I don't know exactly what they'll have planned, but just the fact that he's on the field, he will demand respect from everybody that they face.
And again, he's not playing tomorrow. You will not see him against the Titans in the regular season finale. He's got to wait a little bit of time because of the rules and everything, and really because of the healing process. So let's talk about this game. It's an interesting setup. There are many variables involved. It's an afternoon game. It was originally a noon game. Last week, the NFL pushed it back later. So like I mentioned in the beginning, we won't know who's active, who's inactive, but who's ever on the field, the Texans are going to play to win. Doesn't mean everybody's going to play, but they still are going to play to win. And we've been in a situation like this, 2011 regular season finale against those Titans.
Well, not that it's about me, guys, but here are my personal feelings about the whole situation. I don't want to see the Titans celebrate on the Texans field. I don't want to see the Titans get into the postseason and have a big party on the NRG Stadium turf. Don't want to see that at all. That's plenty of motivation for me. And here's the other thing. I want to see another victory. All right, you have 10. I want to see 11 because it's funny how when you don't get these games where it's, and I'm not saying Sunday is one, where it's a meaningless game, and we had one in 2016, you had one in 2011, where you don't need the last game. But then the fans will always hold it against you. You didn't go 10-6, you went 9-7. Well, you told me that the game was meaningless.
Right.
Listen. Go out, play hard, try to win. I am really perplexed as why the league didn't put the Kansas City Chargers game in the same slot so you wouldn't know the result of that one. That's
yeah,
another thing.
And he brings up an interesting point. When you look back in 5 years, maybe in 2 years, there's just something a little bit different about seeing 11 as opposed to 10 in the win column.
Well, let me play devil's advocate for a second.
Yep.
What was the Colts record last year?
9-7.
Does it matter? What do you remember about the Colts year?
Yeah.
Yeah,
beat us here,
right,
and went and played in the division round playoffs.
Yeah.
Seattle Seahawks, 2009. Nobody remembers the fact that they were either 9-7 or 8-8 getting the playoffs.
The 7-9.
They were underwater, man.
Right.
They were losers.
You know,
But you remember that because it was that far under sea level.
But you remember the playoff game that they beat the Saints at the end of the it was 2010 season. It was not a very good Seahawks team.
The fans remember
that.
The fans remember, though. They'll say, O'Brien didn't win 11, he won 10. They'll say that.
Ultimately, yes, we want to see a victory, but you want to see healthy guys for the playoffs and success in the playoffs. And that's the overriding thing.
That's the thing to me, because last year I felt like going into that Colts game, you were not 100% healthy last year in that playoff game. You were a banged up team last year.
The other thing is this, though. If the Chiefs do lose, how valuable is the 3 seed versus the 4 seed? Is it worth it? You're going to have to weigh a lot of things, tough decisions for the coaches.
Well, you could see a rematch with the Tennessee Titans if you move up to the 3 seed, possibly.
Yeah. That's going to be fun stuff to watch, and we will get into more of this matchup in just a second. So stick with us. We've got Texans extra points when we return, but first, this guy's breaking down some X's and O's in this week's version of the Telestrator.
Welcome to Texans Illustrated, presented by BMW. I am your host, John Harris, and we're going to take a look at interception number 2 the other day against Jameis Winston. This one is by Justin Reed, who is right here, and he's going to pick that thing off right there, and then he's going to kind of do this number and go right there. Fortunately, it gets called back for blocking the back or a blindside block. But either way, the Texans show you how it's done here. And I've talked a lot over the years about disguises. Now, the Texans up front really aren't showing much of a disguise, but they're showing a good disguise here with these two guys back there, Justin Reed and Tashawn Gibson. And if anybody thinks I'm giving anything away, this is an elementary disguise. They're showing cover 2 and essentially 2-man. They're going to man up here, 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 and here. And then they're going to have these two guys play over the top. I love 2-man because these guys can be aggressive with these two ball hawks over the top. But that's the disguise. So what ends up happening is the Texans are actually going to roll Tashawn Gibson here to the middle of the field. And then Justin is not going to go to a deep path. He's going to go here and play what's called a robber. He's going to rob anything in this middle. This is one of my favorite coverages because I was very slow, but I was smart. And I could see what was happening. And if the quarterback didn't see me, I could go pick the ball off. So this is called the robber coverage. And so Justin has no responsibility other than look for routes in the middle. Now, because Jameis and the Bucks don't really see this, they have a route combination called a dagger. They got a guy going here, and then the outside guy going there. This guy just comes and gets out of the way. He's just kind of window dressing, but it's a dagger route. Basically up the field vertical, and then a deep in route or dig route. And this is a pretty good one against a 2-man scheme, if you think about it, because what you'd have is a safety here and a safety here, and you got the seam there, and if they get into that, then you got the dagger coming underneath both of them. It's a good route concept against what they thought was 2-man. It's a bad concept against the robber. And so that's what happens here. You'll see A.J. Howard push up the field, and then you'll see this outside route right there. I think it's Perryman. He's going to cut across, and Justin's already reading Jameis's eyes. Already reading his eyes. Justin's getting ready to rob. Here's Justin. He's getting ready to rob. He's lurking. He's lurking. Think about robbing. Lurking. So he's lurking, and then makes one heck of a catch. He's going to take it the distance. There. And that would have been a big touchdown. Fortunately, it's called back. Let's take a look at it from this angle. You can see where they are. Just by landmarks, it looks like they're in two-man. And Jameis is looking over here. He's looking to get confirmation. Is that man? And he sees man. But he's not worried about these guys. When he looks back up, again, look at his eyes. His eyes are over here. He's reading this. He's not seeing the safeties move in the middle of the field. And that is what costs him. Because now he's locked in. His head has never moved off of Perryman. He knew where he wanted to go the whole entire way. Watching this ball snap, his head is right on Perryman the whole way. It hasn't moved yet. Look at it. Never saw the safety, never saw him move, and away you go. Excellent disguise, great catch, and a great job by Justin to get in the end zone, but used it very well against Jameis Winston, a guy who threw 4 interceptions on Saturday.
On 3rd and 6 from the Houston 30, here's the snap. Watson looking. Watson has a lot of time, airs it out deep down the left side. DeAndre Carter with the catch at the 35 and brought that at the 31-yard line.
Welcome back to Texans Extra Points. It's a next-gen stat powered by AWS. And you remember that deep ball that DeAndre Carter, almost said Hopkins, but DeAndre Carter caught from Deshaun Watson? Well, Watson had less than a quarter chance to complete it, but dropped it in the bucket. It was a beaut. The Texans needed it. It was a huge play in last week's win, and that is our next-gen stat presented by AWS. Drew Doherty, John Harris, Mark Vandermeer. Guys, let's talk about the offense. Wasn't the best showing. Ultimately, though, Texans won. Where are we with Watson? Health? What you've seen over the last month or so? What's going now on the offense? What do you think?
Well, I think health has something to do with it, and that kind of is my thought from the earlier segment about going into this game against Tennessee, getting everybody healthy, and if that means not playing everybody that you want to play, but playing some guys that you need to play to keep everybody healthy so you go into the playoff game healthy, because I think that ends up being the key. You're at that point of the year where you're not able to be physical in practice, where you're just kind of more jogging through or walking through things, and when you have guys kind of in and out of the lineup due to injuries, then all of a sudden you can't find that synergy that you need to have offensively, and I think that's kind of thrown things off a little bit. Not to mention, last week you're playing against Tampa Bay, playing against one of the best run defenses in the league, and then you played a really young and getting better by the week secondary that was able to play against you man-to-man, especially once Will Fuller went out of the game.
Yeah, and he brings up what I was going to lead you into. Will Fuller being in and out of the lineup. Yeah. It's stark. The difference is just what all the stats are when Deshaun Watson has Fuller in the lineup.
You have to get all the receivers ready for the postseason, right? So you want to go into this game guns blazing, and I want to see Kiki QT do some things, and I want to see DeAndre Carter, like you said, do some things, and maybe Stevie Mitchell as well. Get some guys ready for the postseason, but beat the Titans. I mean, go after them hard and run the football well like you did last time you played them. You got over 100 from El Guapo, and I want to see that kind of thing again. Run game production. And as far as this who plays, who doesn't, it's not like you can throw a whole extra platoon in there and sit everybody down. Starters are going to play, guys. I mean, you only have 46 men active on game day. You don't have a whole lot of options there.
El Guapo, for the record, is the nickname for Carlos Hyde. That's what Vandermeer.
That needed some explanation, huh?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure. Okay, now whether he plays tomorrow or not, DeAndre Hopkins is to the Titans as T.Y. Hilton is to the Texans. T.Y. Hilton is the all-time Texans villain. That's not a quarterback. I mean, he has put up historic numbers against the Texans. Well, Hopkins in his career against the Titans has done the exact same thing. He's won 9 of the 13 contests, or his team has won 9 of the 13 contests they've played. He's good for 100 yards per. Can you just describe how awesome it's been to see DeAndre Hopkins and what he's done against Tennessee in his career?
Well, single him, double him, play zone. He can find the open areas in the zone. Against man, he's very difficult because of the way he runs his routes, gets separation of the line of scrimmage. I mean, you can go into a litany of different reasons why he has had this success against Tennessee. But if he were to play other teams, that many times, I guarantee the numbers would be very similar because he does it to everybody. That's why he is the best receiver in the game. You can talk about Julio or Odell Beckham Jr. Look, Michael Thomas has put up some insane numbers. I'm not trading Hop for any of them.
And he's done it with quarterbacks from Matt Schaub to Deshaun Watson and a whole jumble of guys in between.
Yeah, I mean, what's Hopkins, I don't have it in front of me, record in the division? You talk about how he's 9-4 against the Titans in his career. What is he against the entire AFC South? I bet it's pretty darn good because the Texans have won 6 of the last 9 AFC South championships, and, you know, he's been here for all but 2 of those. I just think that he is, I always liken him to a basketball player. You need a big bucket late in the game, you go to DeAndre, he gets it for you, he gets you first downs, he gets you touchdowns.
All right, you guys are like the DeAndre Hopkins of trivia, so don't say anything here, all right? Okay. But we're going to leave you before the break with a little bit of trivia. Which 2 Houston Texans played their college ball in the state of Tennessee? Think about that. We'll have the answer a little bit later on Texans Extra Points.
It's Hyde. Cutting outside, Hyde to the 5, Hyde to the end zone. He has his first 1,000-yard season of his career on that run. More importantly, a touchdown for the Texans.
That was just a couple weeks ago. Carlos Hyde scooting in the end zone in the 4th quarter. That was a clutch run. The Houston Texans helped deliver a victory on the road. We're back, Drew, John, and Mark. Let's talk about these Titans. So they came in 2 weeks ago. They'd won 4 in a row. They were on fire. Ryan Tannehill was rolling. Texans beat them. Then last week in Tennessee again, they lose to the New Orleans Saints. No shame in that. Lots of people have done that this season. But they are playing for their season, and Ryan Tannehill, well, might be playing for bigger things too. What do you see out of the quarterback position for the Titans over the last 5-6 weeks?
Look, he's looked pretty good, and last week their defense, you could say, let them down. I mean, they were up early. Now I know the quarterback has to make plays and keep those drives going, keep the other offense, and this is the Saints we're talking about off the field, but look how the Saints lit them up with all their weapons and everything. So I think right now you have a remarkable opportunity to make them miserable, Drew. Let's see if the Texans can do it.
It was fun doing it the first time around. It would be sweet, like he's saying, doing it the second time around. But you're dealing with Derrick Henry, who looks like, knock on wood, is a little bit healthier than he was 2 weeks ago. He didn't play last week against the Saints.
Here's the thing about the Texans, though. The Texans are built in some way, shape, or form up front to slow down Derrick Henry. A.J. Brown is a bigger problem to me. A.J. Brown has been an absolute stud, and so has Jonnu Smith. Jonnu Smith and A.J. Brown have grown into serious problems.
Does Jonnu Smith run a 4.1 for
I don't
tight
know,
end?
it seems like it, but he ran away from Texans. He ran away from the Saints, too. I mean, he's been phenomenal. Those 2 guys scare me a little bit more than Derrick Henry, but they saved Henry because they didn't really need the game last week.
Yeah. All right. Hey, it's time to do players to watch or Texans to watch. It's powered by Gatorade, presented by Gatorade. Who are you watching Sunday against the Titans?
Well, I love Darren Fells. You know, I think he's added so much to this football team, but I'll include him in the entire tight end group, which had a sort of renaissance game against the Bucs last week. But I think we're going to see more as you progress into the postseason here, that they want to get the tight ends involved again. Obviously, if you have Fuller healthy and you have Hopkins, you have all these weapons at receiver, that's great, and Duke Johnson out of the backfield. But I think for a time, this offense was really clicking well when the tight ends were so heavily involved, and I want to see that kind of thing happen again. It starts with Fells and then Akins. We'll see if Thomas can do something, if he's active or not. But I really like to watch this position group.
Fair enough. How about you?
Because I want his position group to thrive in the passing game, my player to watch, turns into players to watch, is Chris Clark and Rod Johnson at right tackle.
Some tackles, yeah.
That 5 up front has got to be able to protect against 4 to allow those tight ends to get on pass routes, and the right tackle position has got to be solid. So Clark and Johnson have got to play extremely well.
And there's a chance they're both playing at the same time, depending on what happens as far as if Tunsil plays or not. My guy's going to be DeAndre Carter. He's been solid all season long, really above average. Returning punts, 9.5 yards per. Think about that. That's a first down difference from where you catch the punt to where you return it. And then you saw the money catch he made last week against Tampa Bay. He's probably going to play quite a bit against the Titans all over the offense. So keep your eyes on 14, DeAndre Carter tomorrow. Okay, when we come back, we've got keys to the game, keys to a Texans win. This is Texans Extra Points.
Texans Extra Points is sponsored by BHP and by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Houston Texans, and by your local Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas.
Coming at you from the Ford Studios, this is Texans Extra Points. And before we get to keys to the game, we got to get you that Texans trivia answer, which was, well, the question was, which two Houston Texans played their college ball in Tennessee? You got Zach Fulton, offensive lineman. He was a Tennessee Volunteer. And Zach Cunningham, who has been the Tasmanian Devil, but he played his college ball at Vanderbilt. It was amazing at inside linebacker there. Okay, John Harris, Mark Vandermeer, we got to get some keys to a Texans victory presented by FCCU. And we start with you, John. What are your two keys?
Well, I think you got to find a way to slow down Jonnu Smith. And I'll just go right on top of that. I think A.J. Brown, you got to control him in some way, shape, or form. And that's difficult to do when both of them are on the field. But to me, those are the two guys that stir the drink for the Titans offense now that give you more issues, possibly, than Derrick Henry. Henry might give other teams issues, but I think he gives other teams more problems than he gives the Texans.
All right, Mark.
Well, I think he doesn't give the Texans as many problems because they are disciplined about stopping Derrick Henry or at least slowing him down. And I hope the Titans continue to hand off to him on first down because the Texans were ready for it last time. And you force them into long down and distance and you get the ball back more often than not. And on offense, get back to ground and pound, baby. Got to run the ball against the Tennessee Titans. Make things easy on yourself. Get out here with a victory.
Okay, I'm going to steal a page from your book earlier, and I'm going to say get one touchdown from the tight ends. That's a key for me.
Yeah.
And then two, it's something that I harp on and we all harp on all the time. You got to be cleaner with the football. I know the Texans were +3 in turnover differential last week, but think how much better that would have been had they not turned the ball over at all. You know, had they not thrown a pick and fumbled. Let's make sure the Texans stay clean, win that turnover differential battle, and batter the Titans. And it's all rosy here at the end of the regular season, and we cruise into the playoffs. All right, thank you so much for watching. We had a lot of fun. Thank you guys for joining me as always. Hey, get ready. January's here. We got football to discuss, and I hope we're discussing it week after week after week after week after week. Sound good to you? Sounds good to me. We'll see you next time. This is Texans Extra Points.
Thanks for watching Texans Extra Points. Now, leave your keys to the game in the comments below.